Feral Monday. I want to do this. I do. It's actually a mint shade on her lid. It's going to be kind of hard to get it. I'm going to try. I knew a white base is going to help us. The lip is super cool. I feel like that's going to be so much fun for Feral Monday. Let's do it. Now we're going to get to some fun bases in a little while, okay? See this? We're going to have to mix. It's going to be really, really fun, but we're going to start with a base. This is actually called Clean Canvas, and it essentially creates a clean canvas. This is the shade Fair. There are other shades. I'm not going to worry so much about here, just from our socket to our brow bone. I thought about doing just a warm liquid shadow as the base at first, but I think we'll be able to build a little bit better and kind of control the level of warmth if we start with this base. I'm just excited for the mint colored base in a second. I'm just trying to rush through this to get to what I think is the good part. Now, one thing you might have noticed about me is I actually never set the base. I work in sections and set as I go. I find that I get a smoother application this way. I also get the most pigment out of the eyeshadow because we're applying it essentially on a wet base. But if we're gonna do this, it's important to tap. Sweeping right now could disturb that base, and maybe you get what I'm saying. So I'm gonna start with that shade. I'm already gonna hop into this shade. That's gonna go right under. And I'm just gonna keep building this shade. Grabbing more. Using the side of the brush to build. Now we're gonna hop here, grab it on the side. We're gonna start to build up the socket. Now this is where we can get a little messy, as long as we're messy from here down. Because remember, we're gonna carve all of that out. So don't be afraid to just get in here and pack that color in. I will say, just let me out for just a second. The E28 really was designed with this technique in mind. I did not mean for that to rhyme, and now I feel like all of you are going to block me. That being said, this was just always so much easier for me to just keep packing, and for a flat brush to kind of fit in here and fill that socket. Instead of trying to figure out where your socket is, you're kind of feeling the socket, and that for me was just always so much easier. We're gonna add our last little bit of depth, and none of this is gonna make sense until we carve. I also wanna let you know this was my casual eye makeup for many years. Just casual. This was just who I was, and I miss this. So maybe this is who I am again. Ooh. I love these palettes, by the way. They are so wonderful. And this is kind of a big deal. I actually reached 4 Hung's palettes. Where did I reach for my Viseart? If you know Viseart, you know what I said is huge. Now my trick to finish my blend here is I grab the shadow that, remember we started here, we went here, then we went here, and then we went here. I like to grab the shade right before the darkest shade, side of the brush, and I didn't pick up a lot. I will take this on the side and just kind of tap back and forth. I don't go all the way to the brow bone. I just kind of take this one shade and I make everything become friends, whether it wants to or not. It does not have a choice. It must become friends. It's time to carve my Solar Water on a C30. And I know that we're gonna come back in a minute and kind of bring this back into the mint, but it actually needs to be taken away. That way we can have even more control over it later. All right, I got a hair. I think it needs a whisper of black. And again, don't worry about there. Just worry about using a small brush. That way it doesn't creep up too far. Press, press, press. Press it into the shades. Don't be frightened. Looking for that black eyeshadow. There it is. Go ahead and bring it all the way over. Now we're back to tidying. And just that little bit of black adds that nice depth. There we go. Now we're gonna mix these 2 city color bases here. And I just did half and half because I actually didn't have a mint shadow. I know, I was digging around in my collection too. I didn't have one this color, so I'm going to make my own. We're gonna go ahead, carve this out. Oh yeah, oh, we are headed down the right path right now. Perfect. And then we're gonna stop at about right there. So I'll let you know where we're headed. Would have almost certainly got you a repost on ABH in 2016. This was it. We would have been jumping up and down somewhere. So these are new from MAC. And if I put this on top of this, I think we'll be headed in the right direction. Oddly enough, like I said, I didn't have a mint shadow. It wasn't meant to be. We're here for the shadow, not the jokes. Same brush. I find that this brush, and it's out of stock right now. I'm thinking I want to take it off for a little while and reconstruct it because I have another idea for it, but we'll get there. So I'm just smoothing that out. Creasing at this point is completely normal, completely. So now let's just get this on here. And it's showing that same glittery texture. Friends, I think we did it. And I'm pretty sure my mom just broke every single dish I have, and that's okay. She's having fun down there. She can do whatever she wants. Wow, that's perfect. Then I'm gonna cheat a little bit. Take a little bit of a liquid shadow. Oh, there were still dishes to break. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but it cracks me up. Take that flat brush, the E28 again, and just tap that over this way. It's important that you watch it blend. And here the dish is breaking. I'm literally on the last little bit of this liner. Hopefully I have enough to do this baby wing. This is how I've been loving to do a wing. Then I take my E26 and I pull it this way. And then I take it here and extend it. And then I just keep building on this, depending on what level of intensity I'm after. But we're almost sold out of this again now. I'm gonna do these pink puree lashes. They're these individuals, but then they're still clusters. I really like these. They're nice. I hate that I have to do regular glue, but I like how curly they are, and that's kind of what I'm trying to match. Kylie's lashes are very curly, so these are gonna be perfect. And then I have Duo Line It, Lash It, and Clear already on. That way I can just start to place. I did let the glue dry down for about 30 seconds. That way it just grabs, see how much easier that is. And then in a little while, I will clamp them down. Let's do a brown waterline. Now I'm gonna flip you around and we will do complexion. I think we need to do a little underpaint. I love this bronzer for underpainting. For one thing, it is very pigmented, and that's what you want with an underpaint. Because when you're using really thin pigmented products, you're actually gonna wind up using less of everything else. So I highly recommend this bronzer for this technique. Also, this is back in stock, an underpainting brush. And the reason I wanted it to be domed is because we get really nice precision because you can still use the sides of it, but then because it's shaped like a sponge, but it doesn't absorb it and also doesn't really take away, it also is dry. So anytime you're using a sponge that is wet, what can generally happen is it's going to kind of add moisture and wetness into an already very balmy product, and it might not last as long and it might become patchy. So I love the idea of the shape of the sponge, but I just feel for me it's better as a brush. I'm gonna add a little bit of that underpaint. I have that same bronzer right here because hers feels like it's all the way into her eyebrow. Perfect. Also, this brush fits perfectly there. Okay, I just really love this brush. I'm done yapping about the brush. We still have a whole makeup tutorial to finish. This right here is one of my favorite drugstore foundations ever. I'm gonna be wearing shade, what shade is this? 220. Yes, love it. I got a fresh bottle, I'm very excited. So for this, it's gonna go around the bronzer Perfect. C42, and now we melt. I love this foundation. I forget how much I love this foundation. I'm pretty sure this one, yep, I'm trying to think. This is my favorite drugstore foundation, which just happens to be one of my favorite foundations, period. And I feel like if you're still struggling with the underpainting, what could be the problem is too much product on top of the bronzer and the blush. So I'm really mindful about how much foundation's actually, I don't know what my hand is doing. I'm really mindful about how much product is actually on my brush when I start to go on top of the bronzer. That way it stays really nice and warm. I get a really nice shape, but it's not just a ton of foundation going on top, turning it very gray and muddy. So I'm about to get a little wild. That's a bright under eye. I'm gonna need this. So I need to make sure that everything here is nice and hydrated. If I was doing my regular routine, I might not need this, but just in case, I'm gonna spray some of that and I'm gonna wait 30 seconds. I'm gonna go more full coverage with my concealer, but notice that I'm not doing the brightening, okay? We need the balance before we brighten, or we could turn gray and it just won't have that really brightened, fun effect. Now, I might have been able to do that in my 20s, but actually my birthday is this Saturday, November 1st. So I'll be 37. So I just need a little bit of balance underneath there. The C32 concealer brush, melt all this in. This is back in stock. This was out of stock for a very long time, so I'm very, very happy. I'm seeing all of your comments and how much you love it, and it just honestly warms my heart. And I will say, I get asked a lot because there's so many brushes out there, beautiful brushes, and you're always like, Rose, what are you gonna do? And I like to say that I know it's corny, but there's room for everybody, and we can all have a unique perspective when it comes to tools. So the way I hold a brush, how I view a brush can be different from everyone else. And that's why there's room for everyone. My concealer's still a little unblended because I wanted to hop and do this really quickly. I like to go on top of the bronzer, and I love using this one. I do find this one to be very, very blurring, more blurring than any of the other ones that I have in my collection at the moment. Especially if you apply it on top of wet foundation. I feel that we see blurs and powders a lot of times because think of how we set our concealer. We're setting wet concealer. So the way that it interacts with the makeup just becomes this really nice uniform, and that's what blur is. It's just uniformity, kind of connecting, and that's what I see with this if you apply it on top of wet foundation. Give that a try. All right, it's almost time to brighten. Marron Soft Peach. Big fan. I like to take it on my brush, like so. And it looks like the brightening that Kylie has in that photo is really just here. It doesn't go too far over. And I also love how emollient this is. That means very, very wet and blendy. But I'm just gonna apply it right through there. C32, let's blend this out. I'm trying to look straight into the camera. I really don't know what I'm blending. I can't see if I just look like this. If I look like this, I can kind of see. But if I look like this, I don't know. I hope it looks good. I love this formula. This is from Glossier, and it's this squishy formula. See that? It's real squishy. But it's not quite a powder. It's not quite a cream. And I love it, again, on wet foundation. And I'm going to apply it out here. Feels like that's where the application is in the photo. I actually feel like it kind of drapes a little bit into the shadow on this outer part, and I'm just going to build it up a little bit more. For the perimeter of my face, I'm going to take powder foundation, and I'm going to go around these edges. It's going to tie in my undertone and my skin tone, all while giving us more coverage. Okay, we're going to go there. We're going to go kind of here, this blank space. Not quite here. We're still going to reach for the Givenchy there. But I'm not gonna go quite on top either just yet. Now I'm going to wipe the brush off. There still should be just a little bit in there, and you can even move what's here. Don't put your hair in your mouth, don't do that. But you can move what's here to here, and then it's gonna be nice and set. You don't need that much because remember, we have kind of that powdery blush hybrid situation and then a powder bronzer on top. So just a little bit on the perimeter. Givenchy pressed shade 03. Swirl all that together, and then that is going to go underneath my eye to brighten even more. And for me, nothing is quite this smooth underneath my eyes at the moment. I just placed a little bit of this Makeup by Mario shadow, shade Sienna. I'm going to buff that out underneath here. I just placed a little bit of this Makeup by Mario shadow, shade Sienna. I'm going to buff that out underneath here. I'm testing out lip ideas. I don't know yet, but now remember how I said we were going to pinch these together? Now's the time, because I'm not going to have it slide around and go all chaotic. Okay, I'm kind of pinching and pulling them down. It has a little bit of curl, but not a ton. And I feel like that looks pretty perfect. I gotta work on this side a little bit more. Let's go on a lip journey. Before we get to the black, I'm gonna take a little bit of this lip stain and I'm just gonna apply it in the center, but not as heavy as I would as lip liner. Okay, here we go. I need a little bit of color here to pop, but not a bright pink. Now while that's drying, I'm gonna go around the edges with MAC Caviar. Ooh, that's not as black as I need it to be. Wanna know how to fix it? Brown. So let's act like I didn't have that there. And this will give it a base. And then we'll go back over it with the black. Sometimes when we try to put black directly on our skin, especially if you have my skin tone or lighter, it's gonna turn gray and even blue. So this is a really great way to get the depth first. Now we have a really nice base. Caviar, it's going to be extra dark now. Let's go right on top. Now I'm going to peel this off. Fun. And to get that blend and blur towards the center of the lip, I'm gonna take an E27. I have a little bit of micellar water on this. And we're gonna blend the edges towards the center. And then I wanna top it with Astral Projection, Queen Cosmetics. If I want super sparkly, this is what I'm getting. This is perfect. And then I want to top it with Astral Projection, Queen Cosmetics. If I want super sparkly, this is what I'm getting. This is perfect. All right, my friends, here's our finished look. I love this blush placement so much. I forget to do this. I love draping. I feel like sometimes when we think draping, we think red, but try it with your most, whatever you feel the most comfortable with, your comfort blush, if you will, and just kind of stamp it right at the end, a little bit into your eyeshadow and connect it here. It can be quite delightful. All right, I love you with all of my heart. And thank you for being here. Thank you for watching these very long tutorials. I hope that you enjoyed them as much as I love painting. That's how it is for me. I feel like I'm truly just painting a picture, but on my face. So thank you. I love you. And until next time, bye for now.